The Nissan Leaf is back, and it's very different from before. But what does this new EV offer? And will it become one of the best-selling electric cars in the world like the old one? Keep watching, because in this review, we're telling you everything you need to know. The first generation Nissan Leaf was a true electric car trailblazer. It was released back in 2010 as a Golf-sized hatchback and went on to achieve huge sales success. In fact, it was the best-selling electric car in the world for a long time. The Leaf, though, achieved this success at a time when electric cars were few and far between, and competition wasn't exactly fierce. Over the years, the Leaf was given some updates to change its looks, the interior, and of course, the battery and electric motor options, with a second generation model arriving in 2018. But as the Leaf got older and the wider electric car market started really kicking into gear, Nissan's first EV quickly began to fall behind the new competitors that were being launched around it. 15 years on from the launch of that first model, today's electric car world is pretty much unrecognizable, and the Leaf is now back. And yes, you guessed it, the first model was a hatchback. This reinvention has predictably given it the more sought-after SUV body style. So this new Leaf will be a rival to things like the Kia EV3 and Skoda Elroq, among plenty of others. It sits on Nissan's CMF EV platform, which is used by the bigger Nissan Ariya, as well as some other Renault EVs, because of a tie-up between the two manufacturers, of course. The recently revealed Nissan Micra is a much smaller car which will sit below this new Leaf. And for full details on that new Renault 5 rival, click on that link to watch our full rundown. But back to the new Leaf. And on the outside, you can notice flush door handles, 18 or 19-inch alloys depending on spec, a steeply raked windscreen, and a sloping roofline, which gives the car a similar style at the rear as the Ford Capri. Inside, the new Leaf bears no resemblance at all to the old car, which felt quite clunky towards the end of its life. In this new Leaf, as you'd expect, there are definite similarities with the Ariya. It features a pair of 14.3-inch touchscreens running a Google-based infotainment system. And it's great to see some permanently visible icons to help you adjust the temperature and the fan speed, but they are touch sensitive rather than physical buttons. Still, it's better to have them than a touchscreen only setup, which is even more distracting to use while driving. Of the 4 trim levels we're expected to have, the top 3 will get the big screens with Google, but the entry-level one is expected to have a slightly different setup. We've had a chance to briefly sit in the new Leaf, and it is a relatively plush place to be. The EV3 and the Elroq have interiors that impress in a lot of areas like technology and build quality, but the new Leaf looks to be competitive with them. We've also sat in the back, and the rear seats offer good knee and legroom for adults. But as you might expect, the sloping roofline does cut into the available headroom right at the back. So 6-footers might find their head touching the roof lining when sitting up straight. There's no sliding or reclining function for those rear seats either, but to be fair, that isn't commonplace among its rivals. As for the boot, official capacity is said to be 437 litres, which is a little bit down on the 460-litre EV3 and the 470-litre Elroq, but isn't too far off, and it still looks to be a competitive size for the class. It also has the same boot floor setup as the Qashqai. That means there's a false floor with carpet on one side and a white clean surface on the other, which is handy if you're throwing in some muddy boots. The floor will be in 2 sections, which lets you slot it vertically across the centre of the boot to create a divider to stop your shopping sliding round. An electrically powered tailgate will come as standard on the top 2 grades. And what about the batteries on offer? Well, the first Leaf was launched with a 24 kilowatt-hour battery and a hugely optimistic official range of 124 miles. The specs for this new version are as different as you'd hope them to be. There will be 2 batteries offered, with usable capacities of 52 kilowatt-hours or 72 kilowatt-hours. That gives the new Leaf an official range of 271 miles or 375 miles, depending on the battery you go for. Of course, in the real world, the range will be less than that, but those official numbers still mean that the Leaf compares very well to the direct rivals that it will be up against. An EV3 also offers a maximum range of around 375 miles, while the longest range version of the L-Rock offers 360 miles. The smaller battery will cover 0 to 62 miles an hour in 8.6 seconds, with the bigger battery doing the same sprint 1 second quicker. So the batteries, motors, even the shape are very different from the old Leafs. But perhaps one of the most significant changes is under the charging port. The previous versions of the car could only rapid charge using a CHAdeMO connector, something that was fairly common in Nissan's home market of Japan, but as time went on and technology evolved, those connectors became far rarer in Europe over the years. Thankfully, the new Leaf ditches CHAdeMO and instead rapid charges using the now commonplace CCS connector, which means you can turn up to any fast public charger in the country, plug in the new Leaf and top it up. Nissan says the maximum charging rate the new car can accept is 150 kilowatts, which is decent, if not particularly exceptional for new EVs. That's for the bigger of the two batteries though, with the smaller one accepting 105 kilowatts. In both cases, that should deliver a 20 to 80% charge in ideal conditions in around 30 minutes. An 11 kilowatt onboard charger comes as standard with the bigger battery and will be available as an option on the smaller battery. The Leaf will also be offered with a vehicle to load function, which will essentially let you use the car as a massive portable 3-pin plug to power things like a laptop or a kettle. Now, we have had a chance to briefly drive a prototype of the new Leaf. So what was it like? Well, it was a limited amount of time in a top spec model, but performance was good, the ride was decently comfortable, and there were no nasty surprises in terms of the driving dynamics. But we will be having a much more in-depth test of the car in the future. And it's got quite a fight on its hands if it's to make it to the top of the electric SUV class. Cars like the L-Rock and the EV3 have come along offering fantastic driving experiences, incredibly practical and well-built interiors, all for a price that makes countless other rivals now look very expensive. So how much will the Leaf cost? Well, nothing official has been announced by Nissan, but the Japanese manufacturer was referencing the EV3 and even the VW ID3 when discussing the potential pricing of the new Leaf when it hits the road later this year. So if the Leaf can be competitive with that, then it will be on to a good start. It will be built and sold globally, including at Nissan's Sunderland factory, which has been heavily upgraded and expanded to house production of the Leaf, along with the next generation Duke and Qashqai SUVs, which are both set for fully electric makeovers very soon, sitting on the same CMF EV platform as the Leaf. So that is everything we know so far about the new Nissan Leaf. What do you think of this new electric model? Make sure you tell us in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, then click on the link at the top of the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well, because that way you'll see our full review of the Leaf as soon as we've driven it. If you're after even more information on the Leaf and every other car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.